quit being whiny babies and go watch something on IFC. Go see whatever new film A24 is putting out.
Yeah.
Because if that's what's going to appeal to you, it is out there for you.
Come on down.
In general, how do you feel about reboots?
Well,
I mean,
I
it
think
could be
that they're
game
always
shows, it could
trying
be
to
TV shows,
recapture-
movies.
here's the thing. We are at the age now where we're starting to see, we've been seeing quite a few reboots of stuff that we watched as kids. What's the new Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures coming out soon. I have yet to see a really good reboot. Here's one that comes to mind, just thinking of it. A reboot that came out that I thought came pretty close to living up to the original. I think the Jurassic Park movies.
The Chris Pratt Jurassic Parks?
Yeah. I think they're pretty good. I don't think that they're groundbreaking like the first ones were, but I think they're enjoyable. I think it's a pretty good story. I have yet to see a reboot that comes out that's like, oh, that's awesome. But I don't know if that is an objective opinion because I've gotten the nostalgia flooding in from all these. Have we talked about Pagemaster? We haven't talked about Pagemaster yet.
I don't think we've talked about Pagemaster.
Pagemaster was a movie with Macaulay Culkin, and he got sucked into a book in a library and has
it
an
became
adventure.
animated.
Yes, and I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great.
Phenomenal movie.
The only thing I remembered of this movie was there was a broken construction sign, like the tents that they put up, and he had to jump over something, and he used that as a ramp. I don't know why, but that stuck with me. Probably because I was also really active and cool around that age. So
it's obviously not that reason. But there might have been another reason.
So it was definitely that reason, and I rewatched it in college because I think I came across a DVD. It was like in the crap bin at Walmart.
Right, and it was just as great as you remembered.
It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Oh.
So, I mean, what about you? I would say no. No reboots. In my opinion, reboots are, oh, great. Now this is going to be ruined because it's a crappier version.
Right. So, I can understand that point. I've heard that a lot. I feel like people are sick of the reboots, especially Disney doing the live action reboots of their animated shows. I mean, obviously, with something like a game show, I don't think anybody is necessarily anti-reboot because it's just kind of a fun time passing sort of thing where you're doing trivia challenges or kind of testing your mind in various different ways.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I've heard backlash against the game show reboot.
Sure.
Like you have against some of these other things. I think some of the backlash against the reboot is overblown. And granted, I've got nostalgia goggles. I think back to, oh, that was so great. Things were so great then. I wish I could go back there all the time. But I don't think we are considering the fact that we've always rebooted everything.
Yeah.
It's specifically entertainment wise. Like before, the last 100 years,
sure,
all music was just folk music that got passed down over time or church music that got passed down over time.
Yeah.
All performance art was plays that people performed over and over. Exactly.
Yeah.
Whether they were passed down word of mouth or written down Shakespeare, things like that. I don't think there are a lot of people that are like, ugh, fucking Kenneth Branagh doing a Shakespeare thing again. Come up with something original, you hack. I think so. It's funny to me that now we're at the point where I do feel like we have probably the most original content in the history of the world, whether that is YouTube, podcasts, movies, television shows.
So you're saying the large number of platforms and avenues has led to more original content?
Yeah, and just a lower barrier of entry in general.
Yeah.
Before the last 20, 30 years, there was no such thing as making an independent movie because you couldn't possibly afford to do all that. And so now there are so many people that have the capability to tell the stories that they want to tell. And sure, there are stories that people are familiar with that are comforting to them that they want to see again and again, the same way you listen to the same album again and again, or you go see a concert of the guy whose songs you already know all the words to. In fact, to the point where when they play a new song that you don't know, you're like, what the fuck is this? Play Freebird, you know?
Yeah.
So it's funny to me that we kind of have that perception, but then we're like, oh, what is Disney doing remaking The Little Mermaid live action? First of all, The Little Mermaid animated version.
Super hot. Is that what you're
No,
gonna
that's
say?
not where I was going.
Okay.
But anyway, reboot, The Little Mermaid animated version, it was just an adaptation of a Hans Christian Andersen story from, I don't know when I wanted to say hundreds of years earlier, but that might not be true. But the point is, it wasn't an original piece of work at the time. And now people are like, how dare you screw with this thing? It's like, well, that was already something that screwed with something else.
Yeah.
There's so much of that out there. I mean, just recently, HBO did the Perry Mason reboot, which was phenomenal. I don't know if you've watched it. So good. I'm not super familiar with the original Perry Mason because it was in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
But again, it was based on books that were written in the 30s. So that at the time was an adaptation of something. And I know a lot of the, in terms of the movie world at least, a lot of the big budget stuff goes to things with a proven track record. A lot of the big budget stuff is, well, we can reboot Aladdin because people are going to come watch Aladdin because we know people like Aladdin, which again was a story originally adapted from a thousands of years old thing.
Well, it's just like you have to understand too, when we're talking about especially big budget stuff like Aladdin, or, you know, this money is coming, you're essentially gambling, sort of. I mean, it's like, you know, it's a calculated risk, but when you're sinking millions of dollars into something,
Like we're doing with this podcast, by the way.
do you want a almost guaranteed built-in audience that you're going to recoup your money, or do you want to roll the dice on a completely new story that you have no idea if it's going to be well received or not?
Right. I mean, business-wise, of course, it makes sense. And I even think the detractors realize that business-wise, it makes sense, and business is the reason that they're doing this. And I think people will complain that, oh, they're only doing it for the dollar, they're not doing it for the art. But there is so much good art out there. Quit being whiny babies and go watch something on IFC. Go see whatever new film A24 is putting out.
Yeah.
Because if that's what's going to appeal to you, it is out there for you.
Yeah.
And not everything needs to be for you 100% of the time.
How dare
There's so
you.
much content
How dare
that is
you.
for everybody. And I am going to go home tonight and I'm going to watch the CGI reboot of Lady and the Tramp on Disney Plus.
Wow.
This episode brought to you by Disney.
Disney
Reboots are
Plus.
great. They're amazing. Watch them all.
Watch them all.
Give us your money.